All right, welcome back. Let's get into two-step equations. So the first thing you're going to do when you see a model, so what this is if you remember we did algebra tiles, this is considered a model. So I'm going to show you how to set this up by solving it just this way. And then over here, we're going to actually use numbers to solve it so that you can see it in both ways. Now, I do not have yellow dry erase marker, which is probably a good thing because yellow is really hard to see. So I'm going to use orange instead of yellow, okay? So you're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna start with undoing or using the inverse of addition or subtraction. So whenever you're looking at a two-step equation, just as a reminder, whenever you're looking at a two-step equation, you need to add or subtract first. First you add or subtract, then you multiply or divide, depending on what the problem is. So right here, I have this, this, and this. Well, hopefully you remember what that means. How many x's do I have? I have 2 of them. So what I'll do is I'll write it above it just so you can see. I have 2 of my x variables. And then how many constants do I have on this side of my equal sign? I have 3, and they're all positives. And then on this side of my equal sign, how many do I have? 1, 2, 3. I have a positive 3 over here. Okay, so now I know what I'm looking at. I need to figure out my computation. The first thing is add or subtract. Well, what is the inverse? You're still isolating your variable. So get this by itself by doing the inverse of this. That means I need to have 3 of the opposite. And whatever I do to this side of my equal sign, I have to do the same thing to this side of my equal sign, right? Yes. Actually, I forgot one more square. Sorry, guys. My bad. So let me put my 3 over here. We've got 4 over here, and I need to do 4 over here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. There we go. Now, based off of what I know, these 4 and the 4 that I just put down there, so my orange 4s and my red 4, they zero out. They cancel each other out. So on this side, the only thing I have left is 2 of my x variables. And then I have my equal sign. Now, 1, 2, 3, I need to take away 1, 2, 3. When I take away those 3, so I don't want to cross my colors here. So let's do black, because black doesn't get too messed up here. So we have x equals, 2x equals -1. Now, how many x's do I have? This one has 1, and this one has none, which means I'm going to take these 2 x's, the number 2, and I'm going to divide the number 2 by both sides, okay? When we get over here, it'll make sense. So I'm going to divide 2 of them on both sides. When I do that, that leaves me with just 1x, my negative, and then 1 divided by 2 is just 1 divided by 2 as my final answer. This is not necessarily the best way to do a two-step equation. This, what I'm going to show you here, is going to be the best way for you to do your two-step equation. So I'm going to write what I see. How many x variables do I have? I have 3 of them. And then how many constants do I have on the left side of my equal sign? I have a positive 2 constants. And then how many do I have over here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So now I have my equation. I need to get this entire term by itself. That means this has got to go. So the inverse of adding is subtracting. Those zero out. I'm left with 3x equals 6. Now I have a one-step equation. I'm going to divide both sides by 3. So remember over here, I said I need to divide both sides by 2 because I have a 2x. So I divide both sides by 2. This is what that looks like when you're writing it out numerically. So 3 divided by 3 is just 1x equals, and then 6 divided by 3 gives me 2. Now I could have done it this way. I could have continued the model this way. But as 8th graders, future 8th graders, this is not what we expect to see. We expect to see this. Now you are going to see equations and expressions until you finish high school. So you gotta get used to it, guys. So I'm just going to erase it and I'm going to show you, well, let's do at least, well, we can do 2 more examples. We should have time for 2 more examples. The other examples, I'm going to use regular numerical values. I am not doing the modeling anymore. Just so you know, I am not going to be doing the modeling. All right. So let's do 10 plus 3k equals 22. I'm going to do this over here, and then we're going to check our answer on this side. This will be our check. Now, just because this is in the middle does not mean the steps change. You are still doing the same exact steps. So I still have to use the inverse of addition or subtraction. You are not using this plus sign to go with this constant. Remember, just because this is here and it does not look the way it looked the first time, it does not mean our steps change. Please do not subtract 3k from both sides. That is not what you're supposed to be doing. You are only focusing on the constant. You have to go back in our notes and look at what is a constant. Like, look at the different terms. You have a constant, and then you have something with a coefficient and a variable. Your coefficient and a variable is this term right here. Do not touch this first. Do not touch your constant and your coefficient and your variable first. You are only focusing on this constant here. So because this is a positive 10, and I know that because there is no negative in front of it, I need to subtract 10 from both sides. Those zero out. I bring down what I did not use. 3k equals 22 minus 10. What is 22 minus 10? You're going to get 12. I'm going to do the next step, which is divide both sides by 3. This cancels out. K equals 4. The way you check your answer is you are going to rewrite the equation. And when you start to solve it, instead of putting in the letter K, I am going to put the answer or the value that I found for the letter K. The value is a 4. So then I do my order of operations. And we did that last week. I reminded you about order of operations last week. Order of operations says I need to multiply before I can add. So 3 times 4 is 12. Then I can add these two together because I'm combining my terms that are alike. There is no letter in the way, so I can go ahead and combine them. 10 plus 12 is 22. And I bring down what I did not use. Does 22 equal 22? Yes, it does. Then that means my answer is correct. I have checked the problem, and my answer is correct. I'm going to leave that there in case you need to take a screenshot of it so that you can see exactly where I got the answer from. Make sure you are checking your answer if you feel that your answer is incorrect. There is no harm in taking that extra step and checking your answer. It is important that you do that, just to make sure. Okay? All right, so I'm going to see you guys in the next video. Now, the next video is going to be the last video for this week. And that video is going to focus on how to look at a two-step equation in real life. How do I work a two-step equation in real life?